I ain't no amateur boxer from 5 years old that was an elite prospect from a youth, bro. I was going to jail. I see some hype little youths in Reading jail. I got bail and I started training my ass off. Because if I got sentenced, I wanted to be able to fight. I bust my case. But cousin Benga, where's he at? G14, raise your hand. I'm stealing this, Usyk, sorry. But it's because the passion we put into this.
Look, it's been a few days. I wanted to let the dust settle. I wanted to make sure everybody got their opinions out because I knew after this loss, I didn't know if he was gonna. All right, let's start from the top. Let's do this. Anthony Joshua loses in his rematch to Oleksandr Usyk. I am not gonna lie, I had no idea how that fight was gonna go. I figured it would be similar to the Ruiz rematch where AJ was trying to kind of stay away from any heavy punches. He didn't want to get rocked, which is kind of where AJ has been for a while now. But I wasn't sure how the fight was gonna go. I figured he'd make adjustments. Usyk, I mean, that's kind of his style. He's kind of a slick counterpuncher, defensive-minded guy. Plus, he's fighting a heavyweight, like a true really a super heavyweight. And he is not a heavyweight. He's a cruiserweight by size and build. So he went into the fight a little bit bigger than he went into the original fight. To me, it didn't make much of a difference because speed-wise, he was still quicker. And not even so much quicker, just quicker reflexes. Like, he wasn't faster per se. He was a little faster, but he knew where to be and when to be. He's a counterpuncher. So AJ struggled the entire fight to even keep him in front of him. It felt like a bear trying to fight a bee, kind of, if you get what I'm trying to say. Like, it was tough for him to get a grasp on him. He hit him a few times cleanly, but for the most part, he looked like he had never had boxing gloves on before. He was pawing at him, and it was like he was trying to line him up, but he wasn't setting up any of his shots. He struggled cutting off the ring. So I don't know what the game plan was. Obviously, I wasn't in the camp, so I can't comment on what the plan was. But it didn't look like it went through. It didn't look like it went as according to plan. That didn't look like the plan in place. So we watched him basically hesitate for 12 rounds, kind of be unsure. When he does, if he randomly lands a clean shot, he would kind of pounce on him and try and end the fight, but not without real direction. Like, this is not a fight. This is a boxing match. So fine, if you were just on the street, you could kind of just, like, I don't know. He looked very uncomfortable. I think Usyk's a bad matchup for AJ. Like, outside of, because we're going to obviously get into a much deeper conversation about AJ himself and where he is mentally and where he is with his career. But Usyk's a bad matchup for AJ, just in general. 6'2", 6'3", a little bit undersized, but he still carries some power. He's not that strong, but strong enough that AJ had to worry about the counterpunching. He had to worry about getting hit, getting tagged. We're talking about big men. These guys are over 200 pounds. So when you say not strong, it's relative. Not strong in comparison to. Yeah, fine. Absolutely. But in general, these are powerful men throwing powerful shots at one another. The loss was bad, but the loss he had to himself after the fight was probably much worse. Because even going into this fight, I knew this wasn't a fight between Joshua and Usyk. This was a fight between Joshua and himself. You have a guy who's been dubbed basically the golden boy without being the golden boy. Shout out to Oscar De La Hoya. But he's been placed in a position because of his hard work. It's not. I don't agree with the sentiment that Anthony Joshua was placed here, but I do believe that he was supported to get here. So he did win the fights that he was supposed to win. He didn't shy, other than Deontay, he didn't shy away from anybody who he should have fought. He pretty much fought everyone in the heavyweight division when he should have. But that was the plan, for him to be able to do that. So once he did do that, he was catapulted and thrusted into every position possible that they wanted him in. So from a financial standpoint, he is the golden ticket. You know what I mean? He became everybody. He became the Floyd Mayweather of the heavyweight division. Not stylistically, but being that ticket. He became the Canelo of that division, being that golden ticket that everybody wants to cash in, right? And I think he carried that pressure. Now, every fighter or boxer or athlete or anyone really, but we're talking about specifically athletes and fighters who's put in that position has to carry that with them. But how you go about carrying that and what your coping mechanisms and your supports are around that will determine how well you're able to do that, right? And the expectations you're placing on yourself, right? So at the end of that fight, when Joshua lost, because he did lose. I don't even think that's a question. If he questioned it, fine. He didn't win. He lost. He was torn between two things. The idea that it's over, because when he lost to Ruiz and came back and won, it was a triumphant story. When he lost to Usyk, he probably still thought there was that triumphant ending. He comes back, two-time champion. He comes back and he does it again, and here he goes again. The problem is, the Usyk loss solidified that he had a cap on his ability. It solidified that he didn't really know what to do once he got in there with a guy who was of a certain skill set, who didn't depend on power the same way that a lot of the other heavyweights have. He's beaten great heavyweights or really good heavyweights. Klitschko, Pulev, however you want to pronounce his name. Dylan White, who's a good heavyweight, not a great one, obviously. He's beaten solid heavyweights. But Usyk is a skilled non-heavyweight, really, if we're going to be honest. So what does that lead to? You being outskilled, outsmarted for 12 rounds. So even when you do hit him hard, you didn't knock him out because you're not getting the angles you need to knock him out. He's not standing right in front of you flush for you to just knock him clean out. And you're fatiguing at a faster rate than even he is. So where do we find ourselves? AJ finds himself in no man's land, which is where he looked like he was for almost the whole fight. What does he do now? Who does he fight now? I'm never the one to tell a boxer he should retire. Now, I could have my opinions, but I don't know what's inside that fighter's heart. I don't know what's inside. I don't know what's going on. Now, if a medical professional comes and says you should probably retire, yeah, you probably should. You probably should. But that wrestling match Anthony Joshua had with himself after that boxing match he had with Usyk, that was a telltale sign that something else is going on. That the pressure of this, carrying this weight of being this guy who I'm not even sure if I am, from a boxing standpoint and from outside the boxing match. I'm kissing babies, hugging ladies. Before I got here, I was about to go to jail. That was his whole thing. G4 banger. Remember? Remember he said it? I was seeing some little youths. He was going to jail, he said. He's even told this story before. So we're looking at someone trying to be something. Learned boxing at 18 years old. Trying to be Muhammad Ali, which is what he was initially being compared to. Not stylistically, but the heights in which he could reach. I think he's fallen very short of that at this point. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Muhammad Ali, from a boxing standpoint, is Jesus. Like, from a boxing standpoint, Muhammad Ali is like that. It wouldn't even be fair to it's the same thing they do in basketball, comparing to Michael Jordan. It's not even a fair assessment. This guy's career was a movie. So when I look at Anthony Joshua, I feel bad for him as a human. He'll bounce back. He should be fine. This is not like he's gonna. I mean, I hope not. I hope nothing bad happens as a result. But he's got to do some soul searching and figure out if he wants to continue to do this. You've made your mark. I mean, if he walks away now, only history will tell how he's remembered. We can't determine how he'll be remembered right now, because what people will say right now versus what people will say in 15 years, there's going to be a great contrast between those two things. So AJ has to decide for himself what he wants to do. Not based on any sponsorship or what Eddie Hearn's going to say or what his parents are thinking or his wife or anybody. It needs to be a decision made by AJ for AJ. FUBU, all right, AJ? For you, by you. You got to make this decision for you.